Welcome back, everybody, to the WCG Korean qualifiers or qualified tournament. WCG Korea 2009 championship. Fantasy versus KaL here. We are coming off. This is game 2, and this is Matt and Steve SC. Of course, I am Matt, and Steve decided. Well, I didn't even give him the offer because I know he has school in the morning, and it is almost midnight here. I have 6 hours to work, and I started watching game 1 and decided I just needed to watch, or I needed to cast these games just because game 1 seemed like it'd be an epic game. Ended a little bit lackluster towards the end with some kind of exciting play in the beginning as for harasses. Certainly, Fantasy proved himself to be the superior macro slash microer all around in that last game, which I would expect. KaL certainly is lower down the food chain as far as playing goes. But certainly, I mean, we can't put anything past him. He is, of recent days and months, been pretty strong against Terran, except for Fantasy, which is one of the few players he has lost to. Anyway, so we are going to see Fantasy here on the bottom in yellow, and we're going to have the Protoss on the top as red, KaL. And they are going to be playing on Destination, of course, known for its wonderful bridges that make it difficult to crack a turtling Terran, but also make it easier to storm the crap or crack out of a advancing Terran over the bridges. And as I mentioned in the last game, if you did watch game 1, I was a bit disappointed because it seemed like KaL, for a 20-plus minute game, didn't really make it much out of tier 2 tech other than, or even tier 1 for that matter, other than the Arbiter, and the Arbiter really did not come into play a whole lot. There wasn't any recalls at all. So I would really like in this game to see him try to do some storms, maybe get some Archons to try to do some damage. I just want to see him do a little bit more, I guess, because, it seemed a little disappointing last game. This is certainly a map to do it. It does favor being able to expand. For both the Protoss and the Terran, expansions are generally fairly easy to defend. Although certainly with large, nice big fat mains, we could see some drops coming in here, as well as some kind of use of the mountains and rocks around the secondary. In fact, they're actually kind of showing the space behind that where you can drop. I think they were just showing that right there, where you can drop on minerals, or I'm sorry, right behind the minerals, or you can actually, if you're a Terran, shell some, like a Protoss expansion, shell on the probes from behind that wall in the secondary. So there's certainly a lot to do. We are going to see a fast Nexus here. I don't know if it was a 14 Nexus. I'm sorry, I have not seen the probes yet. Come on, let's show the map. And no, it does not. It was not a 14 Nexus. It was 12 Nexus. So very, very fast expansion here from KaL. And it looks like Fantasy is going to go pretty standard right now as well, and is already working on his expansion and going out for a scout. So certainly we'll just kind of have to see here. I don't know if Fantasy is going to go try to do some drops on here. Drop play is not as effective on this map as it is on a map like Outsider. So he could just try to kind of bunker down, although, Fantasy doesn't tend to turtle a whole lot, but he does like getting expansions and getting really solidified in his economy before he does make a big push. He'll certainly make a small push like the one we saw in the last game, but Fantasy overall, from what I've seen, is more of a conservative player than, a Terran player like Iris, who tends to be more aggressive. Although, again, I mean, I've seen some good in Iris too. It's not like that's all Iris does. Wow. And a lot of gateways going up very fast. So we could see a shorter game here. Not that that's super fast gateways, because obviously he went for a Nexus first, but he's getting a lot of gateways very quickly before the Nexus is even up, meaning he is saving up. And I'm assuming that's a 2-gate, actually. That's not a 3-gate. I don't know what I'm saying here. I'm assuming the other top warp in is probably a forge. But he is gonna 2-gate here, meaning he is gonna have double the zealots more quickly, and Fantasy here is going to be going into kind of the standard timing for an expansion here. Nothing crazy for him. He already has, of course, the barracks up, as you can see, the Marine there. I believe he did wall in as well, which is a good idea because these zealots are going to start streaming down right now. Okay, I'm sorry, not a forge, it was a cybernetics core, that's right, because he's going to try to get dragoons and then most likely upgrade the dragoon range so they can try to range the wall in. I mean, if that is what he decides to do. And as usual, when it comes to Protoss versus Terran, it tends to kind of be a race for who, how fast can Terran get the tank out, and if Protoss can crack that opening. Because basically, if Protoss cracks that wall in, essentially Terran is generally mostly done for, as long as the Protoss units aren't super weak. And Fantasy actually looking a little nervous there with his giant Adam's apple throbbing up and down his huge giraffe neck. Maybe that's his tell. Like we have Flash's, eye twitch tell. Something that was interesting when we were at BlizzCon. Hold on, take a drink of water here. All right, yeah, Fantasy is going to have the tank plenty in time. And I do apologize, you guys, if I make mistakes in calling any of the builds or anything like that. I mean, I am more of a Zerg player, maybe Terran second, and then Protoss last. And Steve certainly is the authority between us on Protoss. So, again, my apologies if I fail at this. I'm actually kind of more watching this to watch it for my enjoyment. And then, obviously, if you guys certainly can get enjoyment out of it as well, then that makes me happy. But I just really wanted to see this game. So what I was saying was they had trivia at the Team Liquid party we went to where CJ was there with Savior and Effort and Sky High. And one of the things that Savior asked us was what is his little thing he always does before the games. And people were asking, like, eye twitching or rubbing your hands and stuff like that. But he actually does that thing with one hand where he rubs his temples kind of before each game. And I've never noticed this. So maybe that's something to look for. Savior rubbing his temples before the game because he says he always does it. All right, we're going to see an actual pretty strong push here coming due to those the two gateways. And Fantasy was unable to scout that, so this is actually coming as kind of a surprise to him because of the fact. Now, I don't know if that Dragoon got hit at all, but this is actually pretty scary here. This could do some damage if Fantasy does, or if KaL does micro properly, but he's microing. It's almost like he sent his Dragoons back out to get hit by a mine to then come back, and if he goes towards that other mine, he might even lose the Dragoon here. Oh, KaL with, I think, a micro mistake there. Wow, he is sweating it. He is feeling the pressure. I felt like he had a really strong force. And Fantasy getting a dropship, which I did notice before but forgot to mention, is going to go for the standard F-build Vulture drop, classic. Now, I think that KaL is going to be prepared for this. I think he is expecting this from Fantasy. Yeah, he is going to be quite prepared. So that is actually good for him. He is going to be prepared for this, not going to have to worry about anything crazy. Fantasy might put a mine there just to mark the expansion. No, he's not. He's actually putting a tank there to possibly, I'm not sure why is a tank there, to possibly elevate it up. But that does absolutely nothing. Maybe losing one pro possibly, and I'm assuming Fantasy's heading back. Yep. Not a good idea to attack that. Now, this mineral patch, for those that don't know, is a pain in the butt. Basically, your enemy can mine it out for a nice backdoor into your main, or you can mine it out to get a direct path to that expansion at the corner there. What makes it so annoying, and I didn't realize this until playing it myself because nobody ever said this, but you have to keep right-clicking your probe in this case. Keep right-clicking, keep right-clicking, keep right-clicking.